Welcome to Real Talk with Donna Valdes, where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, triumph, and hope from some of the most inspiring entrepreneurs, women in business, and leaders from all walks of life. Welcome, everyone, to this week, Real Talk with Donna Valdes. That's me. And I know one day I'll get used to saying that. It just sounds so, Real Talk with Donna Valdes. Hope you are having an excellent week. This week, our goal is to bring you conversations, just real talk, hence the name, of people in business, entrepreneurs. I have just a fascination with women in leadership, just real people that are doing the things. And we talk about their ups, their downs, their struggles, their wins, because I think it is needed, just having the real conversations. I just was telling my guest, I'm so sick and tired of this baffling with bullshit kind of attitude and gimmicky and stuff that's going on. And so we just want to talk. And hopefully you, our audience, the viewers listening to the podcast, get some kind of experience, some kind of hope to continue on when things get tough. Because if we could do it, you can do it too. I'm going to tell you about my guest today. We met in person right before COVID. I think it was right before COVID. It was like we were
Literally.
at the beach. And then we leave the beach, and that day we left, the whole world shut down. It was March of 2020. And we went up to the beach. It was so cold. And we were like, oh, yay, sunshine and beach. And we're shivering and freezing. And, but we had a great time. And I encourage anytime you get an opportunity to get into a retreat, closed room, strategy session with people that are smarter than you, do it. And this lady is smarter than me. And so I learned a lot from her. I want to introduce you guys to Angela Brooks. She is phenomenal. Say hi, Angela.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. This will be fun.
I promise I only nibble. I don't bite.
Are you sure?
No. So tell everyone a little bit about who you are. If you were to give yourself your own elevator pitch on you, what would it be?
I am just your average mom. I worked a night shift. I had two boys, and I was working at a psychiatric hospital on 6 at night till 7 in the morning. And I started in business because I wanted to not miss my kids growing up, because I was missing them. I was missing everything about them. But everybody thinks that you have to be this grand, special person to do what we do. And I was just a mom looking for a little bit extra. I never thought that it would take me down the road that it has, though. But I was in nursing for over 30 years, and I was done, burnt out, loved taking care of my patients. Psychiatric patients are different people. But I could not do the corporate stuff anymore. It was exhausting, is what it was.
Wow. And that must have been such a mix of a roller coaster of emotions to be a nurse that deals with mental health, and then trying to be all cheerful and happy and build your business on the side, and everything is unicorns and rainbows. What was that like?
I was pretty straightforward. I started blogging, first of all. I would go home from work because I had stories that there's no way anybody would believe what I told them. They would think I was making it up for a book. And my shifts were absolutely dangerous. I had to walk through 9 locked steel doors to get to my unit. And each end of my unit was locked. It was a lockdown unit. I had 25 men. And so when I would go home, I started blogging, just telling my story pretty much to get it out of my head. And then I found that other people started reading them going, oh my God, we do that too. And it's like, are you exhausted when you get, because it just pulls your energy dry when you're on defense constantly. And then you get home and I'm telling my story, and Facebook was brand new. That's how old I am. And people started reaching out going, hey, what do you do to make it through your shift? And I'm like, what do? I just kind of function. After a while, it just becomes such a habit. But yeah, I started telling my story, and people started relating to that. And I don't remember exactly how I got connected to the product that I started with. It was an energy product because I was working night shift and I had 2 young boys. I needed all the buzz of energy I could get. And so then I started telling them about that. And it just kind of snowballed. When I think back on it, I'm like, how did that even work?
Well, obviously it worked.
It
And
did.
I find when you have some success, it kind of gets in your blood. Then it's like it taints you. You get
Yeah.
a taste of being unemployed, and then you're like, well, who needs when you can create it over here. So I
Yeah.
get that. That must have been such a conflict for you, especially raising two boys.
Yeah. Big conflict. The thing that really set me onto my driving path was the day I stood out here on my deck, and my two boys were getting in the car with my husband to go to a baseball tournament. And of course, text messaging was brand new. We were just starting to text. And I was watching his ball games through text message. And I would get one going, hey, he just scored. Hey, he's on first base. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. And here I am missing everything. Life is once. We get to do this thing one time. And I made, I don't know, like $17. And I was like, oh, how did I make that? I want to do that again. So it wasn't big money that got me started. It was like, oh, I can buy his cleats with that, or I can buy concession stand snacks with that. It was not the millions of dollars that everybody pukes all over social media. I don't need $1 million. I needed concession stand money, cleat money, how to buy a glove. It wasn't big cash that changed me. So when
Well,
people start doing the houses and the cars and all that, you're like, stop.
so you got involved in this industry to get concession money, which is an amazing
Yeah,
story. I think most
yeah,
moms would understand that. Or cleat
yeah.
money. I mean, I think we've all been there wondering how in the hell we're going to afford this extracurricular activity that your kid
Yep.
really loves. Did it shift for you? I mean, after a while, you're making the concession money. What was the next big thing that you wanted? Like, what was your next goal after that?
I remember it very clearly. My office was in an extra bedroom in the house. We just built this one. My paycheck came in from my company, and it was more than my nursing check for the entire month. The first time and of course, that's several years down the road. That was like 3 years down the road. It didn't happen overnight. So I'll be clear on that. I just remember that defining moment when it was like, oh my God, look at this check that just came in. My husband said, is that legal? Is somebody coming for us? And I'm like, I don't know. It just went in the bank.
And it cleared.
And it cleared. But that was something. Checks fluctuate. That wasn't the same, every single month. We all know that fluctuates. But I just remember that going, oh my gosh, if I could replace my nursing income, I could actually retire. And I had 4.5 years left for an actual state retirement. So I was like, I've worked this far. I need to stay and get that. And so I just kept working, and it just kept growing. Every month was a different feel or a look, but my confidence started building, and it was like, okay, I can actually work for myself.
Isn't that interesting? It's like
Yeah.
the cycle of belief. I talk
Yeah.
about that a lot. It's like you do a little activity, you get a little bit reward, and that fuels your belief that it really works. So you do a little more activity, you get paid a
Yes.
little bit more, it fuels your belief that it's going on. And what I
Mm-hmm.
find, like you just said, when you worked at it, took some time, consistent effort,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but that effort fueled your belief even more. I want to talk about the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. You've already
Mm-hmm.
said, that it comes with ebbs and flows. Do you think that's directly related to when you have waves of lack of belief or lack of activity?
I think lack of activity is a big deal, because I was showing up when there was nobody responding to me. I was on Twitter and on Facebook. Of course, they was both pretty new, and I had my little BlackBerry. Oh my God, they were so useless. But I thought it was
Blackberries. Oh my gosh. I remember you remember the little clicker clicking thingy in
quick.
the, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I would, on my lunch break, I would sit out on the front porch of this psychiatric hospital, and I would write a blog post on my phone, which I thought was so cool at the time. And when I would back off of my blogs and I wasn't telling my stories, even when nobody was responding, I noticed the check would dwindle down. And I'm like, okay, so I have to be very straightforward and consistent with this for it to keep going. But I mean, when nobody's talking to you, it's hard to stay confident, very hard to stay confident. So that was, I don't know. I look back now and I'm like, what made you keep going when it was so quiet? And then all of a sudden it was loud. And of course, it was like, okay, people are really noticing what's happening here. They liked the stories. They were enjoying the product, but they liked the way I talked about it.
So what did keep you going when it was tough?
I don't really have that answer because I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. And I really didn't see the big picture because I didn't have anybody around me that was doing this. Like I learned to build a blog without any guidance. And Google was not the thing back then. It was just not there. So I was just kind of learning, lots of cussing, lots of crying. I was pissed off a lot while I was trying to figure this all out. I don't know, there was just some kind of drive that was in me. It was like I could not quit. Like, you're either dumb or this is going to be really, really good.
Do you ever go back and read your old blog posts?
Horrible, horrible.
You have
I'm
the
like,
urge
well,
to edit them? Like, you ever have the urge to go in and try to edit them or give an update and you're like, like they're kind of cringy now and you're like, no.
there was some that were so bad I just hit delete and was like, get off of there. They were so bad because there was, nobody told you there was things you didn't need to say. The FTC and all those people, they get a little upset when you say things wrong. And some of them I just took off. But I have gone back and edited a few.
I'd be curious. I haven't gone back to any of my blog posts. I'm too scared. Too scared
Just
to
let
go
them stay in the
go.
abyss.
Like sometimes in Facebook, when they show you the memories and you're like this,
Mm-mm.
the memories, you want to see them, but you don't want to see them. Yeah, that's some
And
of those
it's
blog
like
posts.
one sentence or one word, or it's like, what were you thinking? Why did you post that?
So
But
when
we
it
didn't
came
know
to
we didn't
building
know
your
better.
business, your blog, I'm sure, helped edify you, the story, the product, your frustrations,
Mm-hmm.
your successes. I don't think a lot of people use a blog anymore.
I still do.
I love that.
I
I
still blog
love that.
every single week.
That's
And I have
incredible.
done that. I've done that consistently for a decade.
Wow.
And
Do people still find you online through your blog?
yep. And
That's incredible.
it's not as there's not as many people as it used to be, but it's still trickling out there. And it's like I enjoy the writing. And you can only send so much information to a newsletter. And so you can put it on the blog and let it sit there. And I refer to it back into the newsletter, but I don't send it all at one time.
What's your favorite blogging software? Like, what do you use?
WordPress.
I love
Yeah.
that. Keep it simple.
I have gone back to simple this year. Like I was podcasting and I'm like, I hate podcasting. It's not something I enjoyed to do consistently. So I turned it off. And I was like, oh, that felt so good. And then I started removing some other things that I didn't enjoy doing in business because I thought I had to do them. Simple. I've gone back to super, super simple and I'm having a good time again, finally.
I love that. I've had conversations with other people. I miss the OG way of building business, people to people. Heck, I miss
Yeah.
the hotel meetings because that's where I cut my teeth. I learned all those
Yeah.
skills, those people skills, presentation skills, how to give a testimonial. I mean, I remember the first time I stood up to do my testimonial and I was terrified in this room of people, but it made you get better at telling your story. And I think so many people hide behind a keyboard right now and they don't have those people skills, but we're in a people
Yeah.
business. It's just interesting to see. I wish we could find a way a little bit more back to the OG ways from the digital age that we're in.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's slowly happening post pandemic. People are starting to get together a little bit more. So I'm
Yeah.
encouraged by that.
I think people want that people connection. You can do everything behind the keyboard, but having a sit down, like you said, at a meeting conversation and somebody hearing you actually speak, they get to know you differently.
Mhm.
I've gone back to offering 15-minute phone calls. Like in my email, the first time I did it, I thought, oh, I dread doing this. But when I get on the phone with people, that 15 minutes goes by super quick and it's usually end up like 20, 30 minutes. But they get to ask their real-time questions. They hear my voice. They hear that I'm actually compassionate, not just trying to take their wallet. I just think it makes a difference. I think it
So
makes a
what all are
difference.
you doing right now? So you've got your blog. I mean, let's talk about all the different, like, what are you into right now? What's got you fired up?
Blogging, newsletter. I have a funnel. I've got it is such a simple funnel. Like it is an opt-in page, and then it has a little bit on the information of what I'm doing. But I want to show people how to do the digital marketing stuff, because this year showed everybody, of course, if you're on any kind of social media, you know that companies can shut you down, and there you are standing in the middle of the road going, what's next? And if you don't have some kind of brand or digital real estate online, I think you get discouraged, because you literally got to start over. And starting over is, most people are not going to, especially if you, I was with a company for over 11 years and woke up one morning with an email from their attorney that I had said something wrong on social media, and they shut my check off the next day. And I was like, holy shit. What now? And I had other income sources coming in, but that I was so glad that I had an email list, that I had a funnel, that I had a presence online, that people knew me other than just for that particular product, which it was a rough week. It was not fun. But I was like, okay, let me pull my bootstraps up. I can do this. I can keep going. And I did.
We tell people all the time, and when we promote companies and promote products, you should promote it through an email list. And I'm assuming that's where your newsletter is coming from. When you have
Yep.
people subscribe to your blog, it's all coming through your email list.
Yep.
How many, I mean, how is, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being absolutely essential, 0 being you don't really need it, where do people in today's day and age, because most people, they're like, I'm texting, I've got Messenger, I've got these built-in lists from social media, but only few people really still say, no, you need an email list. How important do you think an email list is?
I think it's a 10. I truly think it's a 10. I love Facebook, but they also have control of the turn me off button. They can shut me down, and I may never get it back. An email list, well, on social media, we have to be very careful what we say, and in the email you do too. However, I can promote what I want to over here. I don't have to talk about one streamlined thing. When I got started, everybody was saying you've got to get really dialed in and focused and only talk about this one topic. Well, I'm not a one topic human being. I like to talk about lots of things. And like this podcast, I'm going to tell my audience about being able to sit here and talk to you for, an hour, whatever. I like to tell people what I'm doing. And over there, I can do what I want to do. In social
Yeah.
media, I have to be very careful.
Well, because you got so many different eyeballs on you on social media, like your
Yeah.
company and
Yeah.
that's where, I mean, we all have friends that have been shut down because of something they promoted on social media, and then all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
they're shut down. Whereas with your newsletter, with your email list, I could see where that gives you a little bit more freedom, because it's your
Mm-hmm.
community and they're opting in. They can choose to opt out at any time, but it really is
Yep.
a community build. I like that. I do.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that's smart. So I'm going to ask a personal question. Then how many companies or products are you currently promoting to your email list right now? Because I wonder that all the time. Like we have friends, and they got like top 10 and they focus on these 10. And I'm like, 10? Like what? I mean, what, huh? And then they're like, well, you got to have, and they have like literally these silo mentalities, like this one's for this one's for this one's for this, and this one's for this.
Mm,
And I'm like, I, I,
that's too
I,
much.
I'm too old. I
I have
get a
two.
headache
I
too.
do too. Mhm.
That's amazing.
I
That's
do
amazing.
too. And I focus, and of course, you could actually say three. Like today, I'll talk about this podcast. I talk about the product. I talk about my funnel. I have those things. I talk about my daily life. I tell them about me, and then blend those other two items in with my day.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a good balance. Do you think you can overshare? Do you think people overshare too much on social media?
sure. I don't think you need to put your dirty laundry out there. There's a lot of things that happened to me this year that nobody on social media knows, and I wouldn't dare put it out there because it's none of their business. I want them to get to know me, but it's like very few people know the other stuff.
Well, I'm blessed. I hope that you consider me a friend. We've talked offline, and
Absolutely.
you are a warrior for what you've gone
Thank
through,
you.
especially this past year, which is one of the reasons why you inspire me, like just to get up every day and do this. And the one thing you taught me, and you probably didn't even realize you were doing this, is it's okay to take downtime. You took a
Yeah.
little downtime and it was okay. It wasn't the
Yeah.
world crashed down. It wasn't, the sky's falling. It was, I need to take a deep breath and
I need to
just
heal.
heal. And so
Yeah.
you reminded me that this past year when we were talking of how important it is for mental health, even, or just for your own sanity. I think the word mental health sometimes gets overused, like it's a gimmick word, because
Yeah.
it really is just for your own sanity of just keeping your shit together.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. I didn't know if you realized that, but you did remind me that it's okay to just
Good.
stop and
Hmm.
just be in the
Back
moment.
up.
Yeah,
Just back up.
I appreciate that. So all these years and decades later, what is, if you were to think back all the time you've been in this space, I want to hear one peak and one pit. What has been the lesson or the proudest moment,
Mm.
the biggest lesson that's done best for you, the biggest tip that you can probably pass on to someone else that's made you the most success? And then I want to hear your biggest pit, the absolute worst time when you thought, oh my God, if I see another damn thing again, I'm going to puke. If I have to, draw another circle, I'm going to gouge my eyeballs out. Like, what was the deepest pit that you were like? Because I think there's lessons in both, right? I think that if people
Sure.
have the right expectation, like this happened to me, so it may happen to you. And this is how I dealt
Hmm.
with it to keep moving on. I want to hear your biggest pit and your biggest peak.
Biggest peak was standing on stage in front of, I don't know, it's 500, 800 people, and them cheering for you is freaking amazing. It's an adrenaline rush. You're sitting up there in your Kentucky twang and you're telling your story. And you leave the stage and everybody comes up and they want to talk to you and they want to sign your book and want you to sign their book. And just all the fluff that comes being on stage. They always say the person with the marker is making the most money. And you're like, oh, I'm on stage. This feels wonderful. And then when you go off stage and then you go to have dinner and you've got all these different people and you find out the only reason they want to have dinner with you is to pick your brain or to sit and learn for you to teach them something. And it's like, they don't give two shits about you as the person. And it's like, okay, so I love the highlight. All of that is fun. But when you get down to it, your circle's really, really small. And those special people are far and few in between when it comes to business. And I think that was such a wake up call for me that I was disgusted. It's like, okay, so I'm only cool when I'm making big money and when I'm on stage. But when you put me over here, it's like, oh, you just want me for this. We're not really those friends person. So
Mm,
that was big. That was big for me. I think 2020 just kind of did that to a lot of folks, but
yeah. When you
yeah,
realized it
it
wasn't
got
what you thought
quiet.
it was. Yeah, it wasn't
It
what
got
you thought it
quiet.
was, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, or people uh there's a meme that goes around, people only like you as long as you're useful to them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when your usefulness runs out, they're done with you.
Hmm.
It's hurtful. It really is hurtful.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
get it. And unfortunately, it does happen a lot in this space when we have uplines and mentors and referral
Yeah.
partners. I remember
Yeah.
a quick story. When I left my first company, I was in my first company for 15 years and made the decision to move on. No, second company I was in for 5 years, made the decision to move on. And as a courtesy and out of respect, I called each one of my upline. I think I was like five from the top. So I called each of them and I had good relationships with all five. And two called me crazy, three wished me well, and the last one cussed me out. I mean, cussed me out. And he was so pissed that I was leaving. And it hit me. And it was so hurtful. And not because he cussed me out, I can deal with that, but it was because I was no
Sure.
longer useful to him.
Yes.
And that was the last day I ever talked to him. And I was like, I'm gonna keep going. And 15 years from now, you won't be here. You won't even be in the space. And sure enough, he's not even in the space anymore. But
That was similar to when I left. Well, when I was removed from that company, I reached out to my team, told them what was happening because I felt like they deserved to know instead of me just disappearing. Called my upline. The next day, I was getting screenshots, getting text messages where they did a video talking about one of their top leaders leaving. And I was just like, appalled. It's like, I have sat and had dinner with you people, and they were acting like I was some vicious, evil person because I decided to move on instead of fight that. I just didn't have the energy to fight it. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I talked to y'all. Why? Well, yeah,
I think it's when someone attacks your integrity. When you work
yeah,
so hard, you work
yeah.
so hard with your character and your integrity, trying to do the right thing, and then someone else
It gets thrown
attacks
in your
it.
face.
Yeah, you almost
Yeah,
get this like I've learned not to have the first like the first instinct is to go and defend it. And the first instinct is to, rise up and show them they're
yeah.
wrong. And it's taken years of like being coachable by some of the best leaders saying, no, you don't have to show them. That's their loss. You know, you have integrity. You know what you did. You know how you handled the situation. And that's all that really matters. And it doesn't matter what they think.
Yeah.
And like, stop giving them so much rent in your head. I'll tell you what, that was probably one of the hardest leadership lessons in the world for me to learn, is to not give other people space in my head.
Yes.
I still struggle
Yes.
with that. Still struggle with that, even today.
Sure.
People having
Sure
too
you
much
do.
rent in my head.
Yeah, that was a growth lesson. And it when everything went away and everything got quiet and you're starting to rebuild, you're like, oh, the silence was very loud. And so, but it worked out because they say you've got to move people and out of your way so you can grow. Well, I was taught that lesson. I just didn't like it. It sucked.
I love it. Lessons that suck. That's a whole new podcast series.
Oh
Lessons that
God,
that's a
yes.
blog series. Lessons that suck. I like that. Okay, so here you are. You've had to rebuild a
Yep,
few times. You've had to deal with
yep.
ups and downs. You've dealt
Yep.
with wins and losses. Here you are today, mature, experienced, I call it. What's next for you in the next 5 years?
Hmm. Next 5 years. With me, I will be 59 in March. So my plan in 5 years is I say I'm going to retire, but it's like I still love what I do. I don't know that I'll retire. I'll probably do less, not as busy. But I really, really want to show women that you can do this and it doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars and you don't have to be fancy. And I just want people to see that simple works. I mean, that is something I really push when I'm speaking to a new coaching client, is like, stop trying to build this out all fluffy and with lace and ruffles. It can be simple. And I think that when people understand that, business isn't as scary, but most people look at what they see, the Ferraris and the big houses and all the things, and they're thinking, well, I can't do that. And it's like, most people can't. They're probably standing in front of somebody else's house. So, I just want people to see how simple this business is. And if you like talking to people, or even if you don't like people, you can do this business simple, easy. And I the older I get, the less I don't want all the fancy things. I just want to be coming here and do an hour or two a day, and then I'm going to go pick grass out of my flower beds.
I love
That's
that.
how simple I am.
I love that. I love that. And you're absolutely right about the Ferraris. I'll tell you a quick story if you want to hear this. A little tea, a little. So, I had two well-known, very well-known friends in this industry come and visit me. I live in Tampa Bay off the beaches here. And we drove to a neighborhood that, I mean, multi-million dollar homes, neighborhood down the road and big mansions. They rented, I had asked, one of my friends lived in one of the houses. So they asked if I can have them do some filming, and they rented a Ferrari for the day to do all the filming. And so the Ferrari was delivered, and they did all these videos and it was for a company, all these videos inside the Ferrari and inside the home. And it was to portray like it was theirs, their home and their Ferrari. And
Sure.
I remember feeling so,
Icky. Gross.
it was so fun. And I took a photo outside the Ferrari because I couldn't fit in it, because I was like, I'm 6 feet tall. My left ass cheek doesn't fit in the damn car. No one's gonna believe this is my Ferrari, right? I was cracking up laughing. To this day, we still, like, when I run into them, they're like, "Do
Oh
you remember
no.
when we rented?" I'm like, "Yeah," and we're like,
I
"Yeah, we were
remember
so
that.
so stupid back then." But that's what it was
Yeah.
like. We thought that's what people wanted, right? You believed
Mhm.
People wanted that. I think you're on the right
Yeah.
track. I think people want simplicity. They want authenticity. And that is why
Yeah.
everyone loves you. I love you.
Thank you.
I
I
do.
think there's more people that want to be able to buy groceries and pay their light bill than there are that wants to drive a Ferrari.
I hope so. So how does
Mm.
someone reach you? How does someone, we'll put your links in the description when we load this podcast up, but how does someone get in touch with you the easiest way?
I'm on all the social platforms under Angela Brooks. I'm hot on LinkedIn. I love it over there. I am on Facebook every day. You can go to my blog, angelabrook.com. Um, and there's no S in there because there's an attorney in Chicago that has my S. She didn't want to sell her URL. And I'm like, just won't put an S in there.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll make sure that we link you up so everyone can see you. Thank you so much.
So,
This was a lot of fun and it was just so good to hang out with you. I really, really do
absolutely.
appreciate it.
I can't believe that 2020 was 4 years when we had our little retreat. That was so fun.
We got to get
Got to meet
together.
some amazing people. Yes.
We need to get together. Taylor, are you, I know you're watching. We gotta hook everybody up again.